my way in today was the saddest thing. There was a dog running along the street. I saw him, I said, "Come here, little fella, come here." And he saw me, started wagging his tail, and as soon as he ran across the street, a car came and ran him over. I went and I picked him up. He just looked at me and bit me on my nose. And then he died in my arms. I was so sad when that happened. But I'm really glad that you all are here. I mean, you could be at home watching American Idol. I'll give you a preview of what you would have heard.
Yes, I think I could be the next American Idol. Don't you then? Yes, my friends say I have a great singing voice. Well, show us what you got then. I believe I could fly. I believe I could touch the sky. Stop right there. You are the worst singer in the world.
That would have been if you sat home and watched American Idol. You know, I actually tried out to be on American Idol. Simon Cowell told me I was the worst, ugliest clown he had ever seen. So I remember what he sounds like. I know I did a great impression of him. I hear that voice every morning telling me I'm not good enough. And when it's Simon Cowell's voice telling you you're not good enough, boy, is that sad. Anyways, I know you all came to laugh. We have a great lineup of comics tonight. We've got Terry Guile from Brownsville. Got a couple of villains since some of our comics fell ill. We've also got Mark Wirinen. Mark is going to go ahead and start us off on some laughs. He's a Boston area native who usually has been performing in Portland, where I got a good number of STDs at the strip clubs. But we'll talk about that some other time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Wirinen. I just learned how to juggle. Mark Wirinen, everyone. The juggling didn't go so well. I will now balance these balloons using only my mind. I need it quiet. Need to concentrate. That wasn't supposed to happen. Oh. Okay, let's try this last trick. It's when we take this balloon. Okay, there goes another failed trick. Let's try the rabbit in a hat, shall we? Oh no! It's my only rabbit, too. God. Yeah, boys and girls, there's a reason I don't do kids' parties anymore. I've been spit upon and attacked by children who said things like, "Shingles, you are the ugliest, worst clown ever. You ruined my 7th birthday." I just heard that this afternoon. Kind of reminds me of what my father said to me when he left me on the side of the road in a large basket. Oh, I just got an email the other day from a friend. It said in the subject line, "From your friend." I thought, that's great, because I don't think I have any friends. So I opened the email, invited me to click on some link that wanted to sell me Canadian Viagra. When you're my age, 47, the last thing on your mind is an erection that lasts 4 hours. This is how I see Viagra. Then an hour goes by, 2 hours, 3 hours. By this point, I'm getting to be like a black guy. 3.5 hours.
Whoa.
And that would be my experience with Viagra. I don't touch this stuff. Boy, I'll tell you though, my third wife, she taught me all about sex. First year I was with her, boy, the story goes like this. My ego blew up. Next thing you knew, I caught herpes. Then my hair started falling out. And then I caught AIDS. My life is so sad. But I was glad to hear that our last comic likes black people. Because we have a black person here in Corvallis, can you believe it? And he's going to perform. And let me tell you, this guy, you may recognize him. He works with people who are in pain. That's a good market to be in, because people will always, always be in pain. So please welcome to the stage, Jason Young. Jason Young. I forgot to mention earlier, tonight's comedy show is brought to you by Corvallis Pedicab, which provides the finest and alternative transportation. No idling necessary, just a smooth, handsome ride on the pedicab. I've never had a chance to ride in that thing, and I wouldn't be caught dead in it. So the other day I went with my, well, who am I kidding? I don't have any family. I went all by myself to Burger King. And there was this boy sitting there with his parents. They all looked so poor, like they didn't have any money. I can relate. Their clothes were swaddled and all they had on the table was 2 chicken nuggets. The boy said, "Daddy, you eat them. Please, I don't want to see you go hungry. I know it's my fault this family's hungry. Please eat the chicken, Dad. Please eat it." The boy said, "Shut up, son." I stopped paying attention. But then the boy was running around. About 5 minutes later, he looked so happy. He was pretending to shoot a gun. And he came up to me and said, "Hey, Mr. Clown, I can't wait to turn 18 and I can go fight in Iran." And that made me so sad. How true that might be. Has anybody here ever seen the movie Fox and the Hound?
Oh yeah!
You remember that line where he says, "You know, we'll always be friends forever." Yeah, forever. We all know that's so untrue. Because we always lose our friends. Either they die or they decide they don't want to be our friends anymore. I've lived a life of that. I dropped out of clown college because no one wanted to sit with me at lunch. I mean, I try to be happy, really I do. But everything just ends up being so sad. I've got no place to go, nothing to eat. I sleep in the gutter. I had to walk here this afternoon from Lebanon. What a depressing town that is. I broke my ankles on the way and I had to use rocks as splints. Walking here from Lebanon. Did anybody in the crowd know Mr. Bill?
Yeah.
Will Ramsdell?
Oh yeah.
He was my friend and he ended his life on December 31st. And you know, it just brings to... I read the newspaper article and it said he was from Janesville, Wisconsin. You know who else is from Janesville, Wisconsin? Paul Ryan. And you know who else is still alive? Paul Ryan. That guy should be drinking his own urine just to survive, but no. He's in his mansion getting a blowjob from some young male escort. Oh, and goddammit, if you don't think Paul Ryan's gay, your gaydar is not working. The beast will die and the cruel go free. That's just the reality we live in. And that's why I am so sad. But sometimes when I want to make myself happy, I either turn on the Jerry Springer Show, or I just take a walk around the OSU campus. The kids there are so sad. I might be 47 years old, but when I hang around these kids, I feel young again. When I was in college, we didn't sit on the corner texting. Of course, I was only in clown college for 2 months, and then I dropped out. I had no friends. Kind of like a lot of these kids at OSU. I mean, their only friend seems to be the texting device. And I have seen so many young boys there with the tinted glasses. Don't they realize they look like a pedophile? And that's a common look there. If you don't have that and you're not frowning on the texting device, you don't fit in. Do those kids fuck? Is that whole campus on Adderall? I'm about to bring on our next comic, but first, I need a volunteer. Do we have any Catholics in the crowd? All right. How about blacks? You, sir. Come here. I need a volunteer. You with that strange mustache. Please come. What this subject doesn't know, he's gonna smell my rose, but he's got something else coming. Hi, sir, how you doing?
I'm well, thanks.
What is your name?
Robert.
Are you having a good time tonight, Robert?
So far, so good.
Would you like to smell my rose? Ow! It was supposed to go in your eye. Oh, it's fucking hot sauce. Okay, all right. I'm bringing on our next performer because I can't even see the rest of this paper. Joke backfired on me. Supposed to squirt the hot sauce in his eye, but it went into mine. Oh boy, it's just not my day. Okay, our next performer, he grew up in the Midwest. He kept that bitterness. He came out tonight to do a little ranting, maybe a little reminiscing about his old hometown of Fort Wayne, Indiana. What a sad place to be. I've been there. Helped form who I am, seeing Fort Wayne. So maybe you'll be just a little more cynical after our next performer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Cunningham. Come up and do some comedy.
Sure.
This guy. Thank you, Red. Let's hear it for Red. Red, they call him Red. It's because he's a ginger. But as he showed you tonight, gingers do have souls. I'd make another black joke, but I don't know where those came from in the first place. This is the whitest place I've ever been. It's too white for black jokes, so I'll just miss that opportunity. I'll tell you about the day I quit the circus. I heard this elephant. They were putting it down in the back. It sounded like this. And they finally clubbed it over the head. It was only born with 3 legs, so it couldn't give the fat little American kids rides. It was worthless, so they put him down. But I did learn one valuable thing from that circus. I learned how to do a really interesting balloon animal. So it's going to take me a minute. I have my supplies. This balloon animal is going to be like unlike anything you've ever seen anywhere, circus or not. So give me just a second.
Yes.
You all can talk amongst yourselves as you've been doing through the other comic sets.
Yes. Oh my God.
Give me a second. I'm almost complete. And it's a snake.
Amazing. Simply amazing.
That didn't go over as well as I thought it would. So, someone in the parking lot said, "Hey, clown, I got a balloon for you, and it's used, faggot!" He threw this at me. It was my first time looking at it. But I guess I'll blow it up since this is a comedy show and I am making balloons. Wow, tastes like bleach. Oh, I remember that smell. Smell of regret. Thanks, Mom. Balloon, little boy.
Well, of course.
You guys are... If you were any more alive, this would be a funeral. I was fired from the funeral circuit. I also lost my job at the nursing home. They told me to quit coming in, even though it just seemed the people who loved me most kept dropping like flies. They didn't appreciate me putting it that way. So I'll just bring on our next comic. He's a tow truck driver by day and a funny man by night. He was all over God's green earth today so he could get up here. He was in the city of Grants Pass. I did birthday parties there for 3 years. I can call it Grants Ass, especially considering what some of the fathers did to me out back. He also was in Roseburg. in Eugene. He went home and took a shower, and now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Alex Alvarez.
Hey, I had kind of an interesting experience this week. It was my birthday, I turned 45, I'm old. I realized last time I did comedy in Eugene, a friend of mine filmed it, I realized that I'm really old and fat after I watched the video. So, I had to go to DMV and get my license renewed. I never knew they expired. Every time I've had one, they've been suspended. So, they punch a hole in it and gave it back to me. I guess it was like an award or something. But thinking of what, my girlfriend tonight's telling me, aren't you nervous? And I said, well, I'm not really nervous. About the only thing that makes me nervous is the cops. They're usually behind me with their lights on. And I haven't quite figured it out. It's like, I talk to all these people and I know all these people. They never get pulled over. They never get tickets. And it's like, any place I go, I get pulled over. Every time I go to La Pine, I get pulled over. And I don't understand that one either. But the last time I was in La Pine, I'm going down the road, and I see this sheriff SUV. It's got no license plates, lights, one tail light, and I'm like, oh, hell no, bullshit. So I pull up behind him. I go racing up on him, flash my lights, flick them on and off, flick the high beams. He pulls over. I get out and I walk up there, and great big cop, and he's glaring at me like I'm crazy. And I said, dude, you have no license plate lights, one tail light, what's up? And he's like, well, I got no license plate light? And I said, no, and one tail light. And he's looking at me like I'm nuts. He says, well, I'll get that checked. And I'm like, yeah, you do that. And I start walking off, and I wanted to say more. Like, next time I'm going to give you a ticket, you fucking pig. But I was driving my mom's truck. She's here tonight. And I was not really wanting her to get stopped her next trip into town. So I bit my tongue on that one. Junction City Police are another one. I've always heard bad stories about them, I get pulled over in a Jetta. I've got my girlfriend, a pit bull, 2 lab pit mixes, my daughter, one of her friends, my son, and all their stuff for their friends spending the night.
In a Jetta.
In a Jetta. And the cop said, you realize the speed limit's 30 miles an hour? I said, yeah. I said, I was trying to push on the brakes. The car just wasn't slowing down. He says, you were doing 45. I said, sorry about that. He looks around in the car, and I just see this look of amazement on his face. He says, can you possibly get any more shit in this car? And I looked at him and I said, I hope not. And he was pretty sympathetic. He looked at the situation again, and I could see in his eyes he felt for me. Checked my ID, let us go. No ticket. I'm like, I'm doing pretty good. I don't always get this lucky. I picked up 3 for $500 a piece in 2 weeks. 1 in the tow truck. Didn't go over real well. 85 and a 55, commercial vehicle in the construction zone.
Oh, good.
So, here lately, I'm going through Junction City again. I'm kind of nervous at Junction City. So, I noticed this cop following me from Eugene. Unmarked SUV. I know it's a cop. Usually when I'm being followed, it's a cop. So, I'm arguing with my girlfriend on the phone, doing 65. I was late. I'm always late. I was late tonight. So, it's a big issue with my family, my friends.
But we love you, Alex.
I get into Junction City, and the more we argue, the faster I go. And I forgot all about this cop behind me. So I hit Junction City, it's 30 miles an hour through there. I'm weaving in and out of traffic. There's a slow car in front of me, really slow. I'm coming up on him fast. So I look in my mirror, I see an SUV just right there at the corner of my car. So I sped up a little bit, cut his ass off, whipped around the car in front of me, cut his ass off since he was going so slow, probably about 35 or 40. And that fucking cop pulled me over. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm in a hurry and you've got to stop me. I pull in there to Arby's. He says, "Are you on drugs?" And I said, "No." He says, "Do you know why I stopped you?" I said, I said, "Let's see, speeding, reckless driving, I cut your ass off. I cut those assholes off in the red car. I made 2 lane changes with no signal." He says, "Are you sure you're not on drugs?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sure I'm not on drugs." So he's like, "Can I search the vehicle?" I said, "All right, dude, I know my rights. I do not have to consent to a vehicle search. I can tell you to fuck off. I don't have to do this." I said, "But I also know that you can detain me here longer fucking with me than you can, that it's going to take you to search my vehicle. And I'm 100% except for my driving. So go ahead and search the vehicle." He says, "You're consenting to a search." I said, "Yeah, I realize I don't have to consent to a search, but I'm going to allow you to search the vehicle." So he searches the vehicle, and I'm holding my dog back because my dog's kind of glaring at him. So I'm thinking about all these tickets I'm going to get. I'm thinking, I'm losing my license again. So I'm like, here it goes. I lost my license before I even had a license. And I pleaded with the judge to let me have it. 3 days later, it was suspended again. So I went most of my life without a license, and I just got it back in like 2006. So I'm thinking, I am screwed. 2 more cops come up, and I'm like, I'm not too worried about them. I haven't done anything they can do anything to me for. But I'm sure that I'm getting tickets. And now I'm thinking, man, they brought reinforcements to write extra tickets. So they get done with the search. He says, "Your car's a mess." I said, "Yeah, I know that. I work out of it. I don't have the time to clean it up. I'm struggling. It is what it is." He says, "Well, slow down in Junction City." Gets in his car and drives off. I'm like, wow, okay, so I got my car. For the next 3 days, I was looking behind me. I knew they were following me. There's no reason this guy let me go. And I'm thinking, you know, he said I was doing 85 and a 30. He could have took me to jail. He really could have took me to jail. I was looking at more tickets. They are following me. I know they're back there.
They're behind those wooden things.
Okay, I'm really
They're
unprepared.
in Junction City, they're in Independence.
Oh, nice. Independence, that brings up something else. Inbreeders, I'm from small towns. And is there anyone here from Sweet Home? What about Fairview? I was working on a house in Fairview. The sheriff comes up and says, "Yeah, this is a bad area. This is a Sweet Home of North County." And so you get these places like Sweet Home, Fairview,
Springfield.
okay, Elmira, and
Halsey.
Hey, your mother went to school.
and see, it's now. Are there anybody in here that's inbred?
I am.
Okay, you might take offense, and again, not if you're dating your sister. So, I see all these people who are generation after generation inbred, and I'm like, wow. Okay, the parents should at least have enough sense to teach the kids that if there's going to be inbreeding going on, they should do it recreational. They shouldn't create children. Is there anything wrong with screwing your sister or your brother? As long as you're not having kids. It's recreational. Because these people are coming out of Sweet Home. They're moving closer. They get to Lebanon. Lebanon's half contaminated. They're getting closer. They're moving to Albany. Now they're at the edges of Corvallis. Sooner or later, these people will be related to you. So, I made notes to go over and set up what I was going to do tonight, but I never got to that. So I have notes, so I decided to look at my notes tonight, and I can't read my notes. And the ones that I can read don't make sense to me. This happens from, I drive tow truck, and I've put 13,000 miles on a truck in 5 weeks. If I had to keep a logbook, I'd be in jail. So, I drive way too much. I sleep quite a bit while I drive. I get my best sleep while I drive. Oh. I'll wake up 30 miles down the road from where I fell asleep, but so far so good. Now, I haven't ran anybody over. I was dropping a generator here in Corvallis at campus here this week. The dump truck with the pup on it in front of me runs over a bicyclist. She was okay. Bicycle was a little flat. Her coat was ripped. But I watched these kids. And I tow a lot in Eugene. The college kids in Eugene are dumb. Dumb. All right, I love my ducks, but the kids are dumb. I towed this girl's rig 3 times for parking in a lot that says no parking. She comes and gets it, and she says, I've let her go twice when I went to tow her rig.
How come?
She says, because she got there before it was hooked. If I'm not hooked, I legally can't take it. And I'm not trying to cause people problems. I'm just trying to make a buck and make a living, pay my rent. So if they come out, I'll give them the rig. So
Can you write down the names of those lots?
they have signs in them, hon. Big signs.
Big ones. Big signs.
So I said, isn't this expensive? Don't you care about all the money you're putting out? I said, it's $200-300 every time your rig gets towed. I don't care. My mom pays it back. She just sends the money to my card. Bet mom appreciates that.
Yeah.
So I'm towing a car in Eugene. I'm at the lot. I've got it lifted off the ground. I'm throwing the dollies under the front. And these 5 kids come by throwing beer bottles at me, telling me I'm the drag of society and what a piece of shit I am. And how I'm victimizing these people by towing the vehicles. This person pulled into a parking spot. Directly in front of the driver's seat is a sign on the wall, 3 feet by 3 feet. If you park here, you will be towed. I said, dude, please. I have never even went to a university, and I can read the sign that says, do not park here. It's hard for me to deal with. But I noticed the college kids, I don't know how they do with parking up here because I don't tow up here. They have their cell phones, they have their heads down on their bike, they're riding, they're oblivious, they're crossing intersections and streets. They have the right-of-way, so they don't have to watch where they're going. All right, do you really want to fight the right-of-way with an 80,000-pound truck? So what if he didn't give you the right-of-way? Do you want to push it? So, liberals. Oh, yes. Do we want to go with liberals? Because I'm a hillbilly. And my girl's a hippie. I'm a hillbilly. We're quite the clash. But my sister's kind of liberal, and They have an assault rifle, an SKS with like 20, 30 round clips. And they told me here a couple of weeks ago, we decided that nobody should own rifles like this. And we went down and the pawn shop will give us $750 for this and all the stuff we have that goes with it. And I said, okay, let's use a little sense here. You're the smart one in the family. You own an assault rifle. You own it legally. It's registered to you. You're safe with it. It's kept in a gun safe. The kids don't even know it's in there. You're going to sell it to a pawn shop who is going to sell it to anybody. So now you're unarmed and some fucking lunatic has an SKS with 20, 30 round fucking clips. How is that the right thing to do?
What's a smarter damage, a hunting rifle or that?
This? Oh, the SKS? They do the same. They do the same damage. And anybody who isn't supposed to have the gun can get one because they'll take it from somebody who has it.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, I don't have a gun, but if I needed a gun, I'm going to get one. It's survival of the fittest. The liberals are fucked up. So, that's where we are.
Noah has a crappy name. What about that nagger?
Okay.
Had to remind him.
I'm driving through Bend. We know racism's alive and well throughout America. And Bend's no exception. I'm with a buddy. I'm down there at my mom's, working on a job down there and staying with her for a month. I look up at the Burger King sign and it says, now hiring naggers. And I'm like, whoa. They put that right out on the street. And I'm like, naggers. Now wait a minute. Either they need to have the token black man at Burger King in Bend because somebody is saying that there's not and there should be. Or maybe they need a manager that's a black woman. They wanted somebody that was black and could bitch at people. And this sign was actually up there.
You got it on your phone?
Yeah.
I do have it on my phone. I stopped and took a picture of it. I'm sorry. Had to do it.
Grandpa Keen, love you.
I got the muscles.
Something else that's funny is when I was a kid, anytime somebody did something for somebody or whatever, it's like, here, have a beer. Here, have a shot of whiskey. My dad wrecks a car, gets it towed home, him and the driver, they stand there and drink. I do a few tows, people offer me a beer. I don't usually drink, it causes me problems. I get dumber than usual. So, last time I drank, I ripped my kneecap out. I hit a telephone pole in my truck, and with the back of my truck. I was a little sideways. So, ripped the rear end out of my truck, folded the steering wheel over the dashboard. I go in the house, put my kneecap back in, sewed it up. So, it took about 4 hours to sew it up. But on the bright side, if I went to the hospital, I would have sat in the lobby for 4 hours filling out paperwork and answering dumb questions. So,
Yeah, baby.
I wouldn't even have seen a doctor within 4 hours. And the money it saves me is tremendous. So, it all worked out well.
Except for that phone. Except for the telephone.
Oh, it's fine.
But you can take your stitches out yourself, so it's...
Right. Besides, my girlfriend there, a little bit drunk, trying to put duct tape on it. And my ex-girlfriend there, dumping Fireball on it. Which dumping whiskey in it, no problem. But Fireball's sticky, so all the thread that I'm sewing with is sticking to everything. And I'm like, get away from me. So, no help is sometimes the best help. But now, a few years ago, I'm telling people everyone gives me weed. And it's like, oh, well, thanks, but I don't smoke. Thanks, but I don't smoke. But I'm like, well, hey, my girlfriend smokes the shit out of this. I should be taking this. So I start taking the weed they're giving me. So now they all think there's a stoner tow truck. But, so my girlfriend appreciates it anyhow. But now, just a few years later, I quit towing for a few years. I go back to it. Now people give me pills. Oh, here's some Flexeril. Hey, take this pill, it'll really calm you down. Lorazepam. Okay, it's for seizures, anxiety, and pain. I'm like, what the hell? Pills are like a commodity now. They're like a cash that doesn't lose its value. They gain value. It's better than dollars. I'd be better off just taking my paycheck, switching it out for pills, and buying everything I need with pills. It would go a lot farther. It's like, it's the new currency. And since I've been back, I don't think anybody's offered me a drink.
You want a drink?
No.
I guess nobody has.
Oh, thank you. You've all heard the saying, if these walls could talk, and old buildings, whatnot. I'm going down the road and I'm thinking, in the truck, you go a little stir crazy. Just mile after mile after mile, been in there for 13 hours. Tonight on my ride home from Grants Pass, I held the pedal to the floor all the way. And I kept thinking, I hope I don't see no cops. I hope I don't see no cops. I hope I don't see no cops. So I was kind of preoccupied tonight. It was hard to make it here. I should have got here at 11, but I got here at 9:30. So it worked out well. But my dog goes with me in the truck a lot. And my dog, he's had it rough. He was stomped on by a horse when he was a puppy. He was flat as cardboard. He chased a raccoon, got beat up, got away, got hit by a car. I slammed his head in the door. This dog's just been, there's 100 things that have happened to this dog. He got ran over by a golf cart, and it's only like that high, 3,000 pounds. So he's had it rough, and I'm like, man, if my dog could talk, the stories he could tell. Bouncing around in the truck, hitting the floor, hitting the ceiling, the wrecks we've been in. The time he put us in the ditch, I'm going down the road, and he jumped on my arm, and in we went. And I'm thinking, if he could talk, he could tell some stories. And then I thought, if he could talk, I'd be in prison for animal abuse. It's a good thing my dog can't talk. All right, you guys have a good night, and hopefully we'll see you again.
All right, let's hear it for Alex Alvarez. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so our next performer, I've done it again. Well, I guess I'll have to come clean with all of you. My name isn't really Shingles the Sad Clown. My name's Marty Goldstein. I come from New York. You guys take everything so serious in this town. What's wrong with you? As my Uncle Murray once said, you want to be a clown, people like you. You make them laugh, they like you. I'm a clown, no one likes me. Well, what can you do? Oh, but I'm glad we didn't have any Jewish jokes tonight. Well, my Uncle Morty was here earlier. He would have had a fit. And you guys don't serve Manischewitz wine? What's wrong with you? Oh, toof. Anyway, glad everyone came out tonight. I think we've got one more person. And then Shingles, Marty Goldstein, and myself will be going to bed. Gotta get up in the morning, you know. Us Jewish people don't get rich by not working. like you slobs. What do you guys do for money here in Corvallis? How do you guys make this work? Y'all are so mellow. I live in New York City. You know what would happen if one of you guys walked down the streets of New York City? Oy, you cyclists would be run over by a taxi. Oh, boy, you people are mellow. What drugs is this town on? Oy vey. Well, our next guest, Terry Guile, is the co-host of the Tagcast podcast.
There it is.
Y'all can look that up online. He's the owner of the Brownsville Car Wash. I like that, a self-starter. He's in 2 metal bands.
Yeah.
2 years now he's been performing comedy. Oh, my boy, my Uncle Morty would call you an entrepreneur. His website is terryguile.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Terry Guile.
Thank you, Shingles, or whatever your name is. I almost called you Dan for some reason. I don't know what's the matter with me. All right, thanks for that wonderful introduction, and thanks for sticking around, you guys. Let's hear it for all the comics. It takes a lot of guts to get up here and bare your soul. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Terry. I'm a recovering Christian. And I didn't steal that from the first comic. I actually do that. He's a recovering Catholic. I'm a recovering Christian. I think it's fucked up that when you go to AA meetings, they make you say you're an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic who hasn't drank for 10 years, which is weird. So that'd be like me going to church and saying I was a Christian. But I'm not real, I'm recovering, so, you know, just keep praying for me. Everything will be okay. And our first comic tonight was talking about premature ejaculation. I wasn't afraid to raise my hand right up because, I don't know if you guys know this, I came when I was 5. And that is totally premature. You're usually 12 before you do that shit, so. You guys are all drinking tonight? You got a buzz yet? It's getting late. I don't drink too much. I get frowned upon by my alcoholic friends for it. Yeah, I don't drink much. I used to drink much, like too much. And I got to a point where my friends were telling me about episodes I was apparently having. They were telling me I was blacking out and stuff. And I got to thinking about it. You know, I don't ever personally remember being blackout drunk. So I think that those guys are just messing with me to make themselves feel better about themselves. But I have learned some things over the years drinking a lot. Like, here's a tip for you from Terry. If you guys ever get really wasted, say maybe you took acid earlier in the day and smoked a whole bunch of weed, and then you drank like a half a fifth of whiskey, and you're partying with your friends at their house, and your favorite song comes on the radio that just happens to be Venom, which is a heavy metal band from the 80s. Yeah, so I start banging my head and moshing around. The next thing I do, I'm falling into the table, I'm knocking glasses off, I'm breaking the stereo, things are falling and breaking, and I'm thinking to myself, fuck, I'm gonna get kicked out of this party. So I just did what I could think of first, and I just pretended like I knocked myself out. And then all my friends' animosity and madness just turned into like compassion and empathy, and they're like, oh my God, Terry, are you okay? He's been on acid all day, he's been smoking weed, he drank a bunch of whiskey. God, he knocked himself out, you guys. And then I waited about 20 seconds and I opened my eyes, I'm like, what happened? They're like, dude, you fell over and broke a bunch of stuff? You knocked the stereo off? And I was like, man, I'm sorry. They're like, it's okay. Now, if I would have just knocked shit over and stood up real quick and said, ah, they would have said, get the fuck out of here, you idiot. So if you guys ever find yourself falling to a crashing in, just pretend you knocked yourself out and your friends will still love you. And it'll be okay. And you know, it's hard not to drink these days. There's a lot of reasons to drink in this world. You know, you got the holidays that get you all depressed, and crime, bigger cities. I live in a small town, luckily, but now crime's hitting my small town. My neighbor's house just got broke into the other day. It's freaked me out. I'm scared about it. I'm paranoid. I didn't know how to feel about it. I'm just at a loss for words, and I don't know how to deal with it.
What'd you take?
And by dealing with it, yes, I meant the guilt. So no, I didn't steal anything. I sent my kids in there to do it because if I give them a tin nug, they'll do anything I ask them. Apparently you guys know what tin nugs are. Speaking of drinking, also I spend a lot of time in bars doing comedy and music, and since I don't drink, I found a fun game. And I'll wait kind of by the door, and I'll wait till someone who's visibly intoxicated come in. I'll wait for them to order a couple drinks and get them down, and then I'll stand a little bit behind them and I'll eavesdrop on their conversation and I'll get into their psyche, and then I'll come up to them and I'll say, "Hey man, what's up?" And they're like, "Not much." And I was like, "I'm gonna go to Walmart tomorrow and get the new Nickelback album, then go home and watch NASCAR all day." And he's like, "Really? Me too, fucking high five." And then it's like, we're good friends, right? And I make friends with him. And then I gain his confidence and we're good friends. And I say, "Hey, let's go out and smoke a cigarette," because I'm acting drunk too. And then we get about 2 steps out the door and I pull the leg trick on him. And I fall down like this, "Oh shit." And that's when they lose their last 3 drinks, projectile vomit. And they sober up real quick and they're like, "Oh my God, you have an artificial leg?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And they're like, "Phew, that's not funny." And then they ask me, "How did you lose your leg?" And I have to go into all these stories because it's just fun to fuck with drunk people. I'll say, "I was fucking surfing in Hawaii when I was 20 and a shark came up and bit my leg right off." They're like, "Really? That's fucking cool." "Well, it's not that cool that a shark bit your leg off, but that's a fucking cool story." And I was like, "Yeah, it's so cool." Not true. And then I go through like 7 stories, including a bear attack, a train, and abortion gone wrong where it just sucked half my leg off. And finally I get to the true story and tell them it was just a simple birth defect caused by birth control in the 60s. And they're like, "Nah, that's not true." So then they're not my friend anymore because they find out I've been lying to them the whole time. So, but that's what I do to drunk people. Don't like to drink that much. And you know, people say, "God, it must have been tough growing up as an amputee. People probably teased you at school and stuff." I was like, "Well, you know, it was kind of a bummer. Sometimes they might call me peg leg on the playground, but I was always the first to get picked when we were playing pirate." Unless the one-eyed kid was there. And I ruled the playground when it came to hopscotch. And when I was about 6 years old, I came across a saying that I used quite often, and it worked well for me for about 3 days. I was really stoned, 6 years old, and I heard my mom say to my older brother, he said, "Mom, would you go into the kitchen and get me a glass of water?" She said, "Son, you've got 2 legs, go get it yourself." You guys remember that saying from back in the day? Well, a little light went on in Terry Giles' little head, and I thought, if I wait a couple of days, I can use that against my mom. So when she asked me to go take out the garbage or bring in the firewood, I'd say, "You got 2 legs, Mom, do it yourself." Yeah, I know, what could she say, right? Except for, "I'm sorry, son." She turned into Shingles the Sad Clown. So, like, I started abusing my privilege. She asked me to change the channel. We didn't have remotes back in the day, but I said, "You got 2 legs, change it yourself." She's like, "Wait a minute now, this isn't working." So, lesson here, don't abuse your privileges because they will get yanked away from you quickly. So, people ask me how I dealt with being an amputee as a child. Like I said, I smoked a lot of marijuana. I'm a connoisseur. I've been smoking weed since I was about 4 or 5 years old. And some people think that my parents are real assholes for letting me smoke at such a young age, but I look at it this way: it helped me deal with being a kid, being an amputee, and plus, I'm really stoked that I got to start smoking weed so early, and my parents didn't care, because besides my wife, it's the love of my life. And I get really pissed, you know, smoking weed all my life, and then I grow up and I start hearing people naysaying it against it. You know, they're saying that, "Oh, well, weed's pretty much legal now. You can get it for medical purposes." They say, "You're just using it as an excuse to get high." I was like, "No, man, I got friends with legitimate problems. Like, I have a friend with glaucoma. It helps his eyes. I have an epileptic friend who told me it helps him with his epileptic seizures." I was like, "Dude, that's so awesome. You smoke weed and you don't have seizures?" And he's like, "Well, I still have them, but it's like..." And I don't even fall down, so nobody gets hurt. So smoke weed, it's good for you guys. Like I said, almost legal. Measure 80 did not pass a couple months ago, which I think is a good thing, because if the government got a hold of that shit, what would they do? They'd give you shitty weed and charge an arm and a leg for it. And as I told you before, can't afford prices like that. Okay. Enough of the leg jokes. Let's move on to something else that's funny. Who's got kids? Who's got kids? You guys got kids? All right, we got lots of kids. When me and my wife got together, it was like the Brady Bunch plus 1. We got 7 ones. And they've mostly grown up and moved out, which is awesome. Some of them have grown up and not moved out, which is not that awesome. But But kids are crazy. They say funny things. Like I said to my mom, "You've got 2 legs, get it yourself." Today's kids say stuff like we have a friend, and on a nice day I'll call her promiscuous. She recently had a baby, and she really wasn't sure who the father was. And unfortunately, the baby had it was harmless, but it's a little birthmark on his forehead. It kind of looks like an Indian dot or a scab or something like that. So, trying to be funny with my 14-year-old daughter, I say, "Did she find out who the dad was? He must have been from India, right? With the dot on the head." And she's like, "No, Dad, it's from getting smacked in the face with wieners." 14 years old and smacked in the face with wieners. Now, I'm glad I didn't hear that when I was married to my pregnant girlfriend, because we used to do it all the time, thinking that it wasn't smacking him in the face with wieners. I was trying to get a bonus blowjob at the same time. I'm not even going to go there, because that guy in the red shirt was pretty out there, and some people left, and you got quiet, so... So back to kids, you know. I've said this before, I love kids, but I fucking hate kids. I mean, that's all I got to say about that. I was going to go into another thing, but I just hate kids. That's all it is. I did get a new jacket recently. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I bought it at a thrift store, and now several times I've been accused of being a hipster because I bought a Dickies jacket at a thrift store. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with hipsters. There's a lot of them in Portland. There might be a few sprinkled around here in Corvallis, but I actually like things because I actually like them. There's no irony to it. It's not a double-decker bike or one of those, I don't know, hipsters are crazy. So I tried wearing tight pants with a belt that wouldn't stay up, but they stay up. I don't know what the fucking deal is. Went to the doctor, had a checkup. He told me I suffer from an irony deficiency. So I'll never be a hipster. Gosh darn it. You guys familiar? I see some older folks in here. You're familiar with Sesame Street? I've been watching it, yeah. Used to watch that as a small child. Learned a lot from it. I was really stoned at the time, but Big Bird was always cool when I was high. But lately I've been watching it with my godson. I figured he's 2, he's going to start learning stuff, so introduce him to Sesame Street. So we went back to the 70s Sesame Street, and that's when I made a shocking discovery. You guys familiar with Snuffleupagus?
Yes.
Got some bad news for you if you like him. He's a sex offender. No, I'm serious, think about it. What is he always saying? "Don't tell anybody." And he's got that big trunk. "Don't tell anybody. Don't even tell him I saw you." And if you think about it, his trunk is like perfect size for the crotch of that big yellow bird. It's called a suck job, actually. You get feathers in your teeth. And everybody's giving Elmo the hard time about being, you know, the bad guy, but it wasn't him, it was the guy with his hand up his ass, so. Yeah. So yeah, Snuffleupagus was a sex offender. I'm going through random things right now with no segues, just like to let you guys know a little bit more about myself. I like cats more than dogs. Is there any dog people here? Cat people. Cat people? All right, cool. Sometimes I get more dog people than I get hated on when I say I'm a cat person, but I finally figured it out because people ask me, especially the dog lovers, they're like, "Why do you like cats better than dogs?" And I'm like, well, I think I like cats better than dogs because the fact I've never seen 2 cats having sex before. I've heard them howling in ecstasy in the night, and I knew what was going on, but out of sight, out of mind. I don't want to see 2 cats fucking. Now, as a child, I saw my Indian friend 2 dogs fucking several times, like in the neighborhood during the summer. They would be done, right, ready for a cigarette and a nap, and they're stuck together ass to ass because the boy dog has his junk stuck in the girl's junk, and they can't get apart. So it kind of scarred me for life. Also, cats are cool. You can grab them, and you can pet them, and you can get them down and tickle their belly. Nothing really happens except they purr. You do that with a dog, the next thing you know, he's got his dick out. And you're like, "Put the lipstick away, sir. I do not want to play Red Rockets this afternoon." So, yeah, dogs are exhibitionists. That's why I don't like them. I like cats better. So that's that. And I'm sorry if I alienate myself from any of the audience members, but that's just the way it goes. Have you ever been in an argument with your good friend and you're just calling each other names because that's what good friends do, right?
Oh yeah.
And you get to the point where you're just saying names and you've run out, right? He's called you a pussy, you've called him a dick, you're a motherfucker, he's an asshole, and then you just blurt out something like, faggot-dick. He's like, faggot-dick? What does that even mean? And I said, I don't know, but it's fucking funny. And that's what you are. So if you ever are losing in a name calling fight, just come up with one that's not real and it'll end it quickly. I don't usually do crowd work, but you guys are a lovely crowd. I appreciate you guys. These ladies, they hung around all night. You guys for gay marriage in Corvallis? Fuck yeah, right? You ladies married? Yeah. You are? Yeah! Awesome! That totally ruined my